Hello and welcome to the Interlocking Loops FlossTube channel. This is FlossTube episode number 3. My name is Angela and I'm your host. It is March 3rd of 2019. Welcome one and all. Okay, if you remember last time I started out talking a little bit about knitting, kind of the 30-second knitting, what I do, other crafty pursuits, and I'm going to talk about knitting for just a little bit today as well. I'm wearing the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. It's a downloadable Ravelry pattern, and I just finished it this last week, and this is my first time wearing. So if you're interested in knitting, that's something that Ravelry is quite the storehouse of patterns and conversations. If you have any interest, you can join. It's free, and you can find me there. If you're interested in trying to check that out, let me know, and I can let you know my handle over there. Okay, on with the cross stitch. Last time I talked about trying to get my goal of fully finishing something, so I started and finished one. The Hands-On Design Love is Kind pattern, the freebie this year. I did go ahead and start that, and I did finish it. It's on 16 count white Aida using DMC. And I finished it with this very adorable little pink fabric and a felt heart. I have to admit, I'm more of a tutorial, being able to see it as someone does it, so reading the instructions on the finishing was a little bit anxiety producing, but then again, I finally got it done on the first take, so I was pretty happy with that. The colors I used were DMCs. And let's see, 801 was the brown. There is a 601, which is the more fuchsia bright pink, and the lighter pink was 3806. And I'm happy to have that done. I think that'll look really nice and extra to display. So in case any of you, for your finishing, like the felt heart idea, when we were in Joann's here last weekend, I was in the button section and I found the felt hearts by Flair Originals, and a variety of sizes, red and 2 different pinks, were the felt hearts that I thought would be a nice embellishment. I anticipate there's more types, but I didn't look past that because I knew exactly what I wanted to finish. That may be something to look into if you have a Joann's near you. Alright, let's talk a little bit about what I was working on last time. And if you remember, it was Lizzie Kate, her snowy string, in 14 count Aida that I hand dyed myself. Kind of a light turquoise color. And I'll show you the pattern. I really like these spring strings. I did complete the I Love to Stitch challenge for them at the February, only missing just the first couple of days. And these strings, you could see your progress fairly quickly each day. And that made it fun, you know. With weather like we're having, the winter seems so long, it's nice to kind of feel like you're really getting some traction on something. So I'm thrilled with how that turned out. Since then, I started the next Lizzie Kate's string, the spring string, and this also is on hand-dyed fabric. Pearl Gray Rit dye is what I used on 14 count. The Fancy Floss colors that I used for this is actually from Priscilla of the Housewives of Cross Stitch, and the one she recommended. Here's the pattern, and I enjoyed her so much that I went out for the first time. I just went ahead and bought the Fancy Flosses, so I'm starting to get a bit of a collection going. And let's see, the colors I used: Classic Colorworks Brown Sugar, Black Coffee, Pumpkin Harvest, Eggshell. I'll hold these all up together at the end. Ladybug, Queen Bee, which is a nice yellowy gold. Classic Colorworks straw hat. Bean Sprout. Oh, I like this spring green. It's not coming across very well there, but it's very pretty. Rain Shower, which is a nice variegated light blue. And then Rosy Glow, which is aptly named. It's a very light pink. Okay, let's see. So I got this finished. I just finished up the spring string just this morning, trying to have it ready for the FlossTube today. So I'm in the in-between phase, is exactly what do I want to stitch next. I have put on bobbins the DMC floss for the Little House Needleworks Fresh Cherries Farm pattern. And I'm still on the fence of exactly if I want to do Ada on a 16 count. I'd like to go a little bit smaller in size with the 18 count. We'll see what happens. We'll see who wins out. But I do plan on getting that started. I think the stitch along started March 1st for that particular pattern. Let's see. Another thing I talked about last time was the March Wordplay by Brenda Gervais. And I have completed the January and February and hope to get the March at least started during the month of March. I don't think I will be able to get each month's finished during the month this year. I probably will get half of the year done and finish the next half next year. But that's all right. I've gone as far as trying to convert her fancy flosses to DMC as I did on the other two patterns. And I started my list of exactly what the fancy flosses colors and numbers are, and then switching them all to DMC. And I'll be looking in my stash that I have, that I've purchased, as well as I did inherit my mother-in-law's DMC floss stash, to try and see how many of those I actually have, and trying to get working on that. I know I will be doing that on 18 count cloth as I have done the other two pillows, and it'll be in an ivory color. So I'm looking forward to getting that started. Let's talk about acquisitions for a minute. From Trish at 3 Threads, she did a pre-order for Jack Frost Tree Farm, the first installment. I'm sure you guys have been seeing these pictures. I just think it's just adorable. And I did order the fancy flosses to go with that as well. Those are English Ivy, a nice dark green, eggshell, an off-white. Then there's English Ivy, which is a nice dark green, black coffee again. Let's see, we have warm wheat, which is a nice kind of a honey brown color. We have pine needles, which is a bit of an olivey green. Cherry cobbler, which is probably my favorite of the fancy flosses that I've come across so far. I just love that color. Nature's Trail is kind of a sagey green. There's Muddy Puddle, kind of a brown gray. And the last one's Peanut Brittle, which looks just as like peanut brittle. So those are ordered to go with that Jack's Tree Farm. I don't know that I will be starting that anytime soon, but I know I do want to stitch it, so that's coming up. Stay tuned. I thought I'd talk just a little bit about my process in dyeing fabric in case you wanted to do a little bit of it, dyeing of it at your home. It's another kind of creative thing to do. I have a crock pot that's just for dyeing and not for cooking any type of foods. What I do is I have a small plastic bucket. I soak the Ada cloth ahead of time in that, and then I have the crock pot 2/3 to 3/4 of the way filled with water and some salt per the RIT instructions, and I have been only using the RIT liquid dye. I start by adding color once the water is heated up and nearly steaming. I start with half a capful and go from there, depending on how saturated I want the color to be on the fabric. I then take the fabric, I kind of scrunch it together, put it in the crock pot and let it sit there anywhere from 5 minutes up to an hour, depending on how dark I'd like it to be. And on occasion I've taken it out, added more dye, and then set it back in. I'm not really looking for a solid color when I dye something, more of a mottled look, and this helps me to achieve that. And I did buy 2 new colors of liquid dye this last week from Hobby Lobby. One is rose quartz and one is golden yellow. That I hope to do I thought these would go nice spring into summer with these colors. So you can use your 40% off coupon if you buy just one at a time. So I'm starting my collection. So I may have mentioned last time we talked, I was either in the process or had actually already hand dyed some fabric. That gray was the pearl gray in the RIT dye. And then I did, I think it's like a apple green or something like that. And not only did I do fabric, which is coming out a little more yellow than it really is on camera, but I also threw in some white trim to dye along with it, which will coordinate well on a finished piece. So it's really pretty easy to do. When it gets to the color that I'm looking for, I take it out, I rinse it in cold water till it runs clean, and I do the dyeing in the bathroom, in the spare bathroom, and then I take one of the fancy dancy hooks and I hook it on there, wrap the trim over the top, and let it drain over the bathtub. So it can be something simple you can do, maybe you just want to do it for fun, just to see what you can do. When I did the coffee tea dyeing, I'm able to use stainless steel cookware that I can reuse because it is coffee and tea, which is not a problem for inedible, to be able to use those pans again, so I could just do that on the stove. Then I would let them cook quite a while in doing so, and you could, I learned what I did through a variety of YouTube videos, including Priscilla and Chelsea's. They have one on the coffee tea dyeing, so that was helpful for me. Feel free to follow that if you'd like to do a little coffee tea dyeing on your own. As far as other acquisitions, when we went to Joann's, I'd mentioned going and checking out the buttons, and I found those little bitty hearts that were felt. I also did go through the remaining of their clearance section on their fabric for Valentine's. So I bought a little bit of a variety of colors. It's hard to tell, but both of these kind of have a little bit of a sparkle to them. They're kind of the same fabric, just with different backgrounds, pinker versus red. And then I thought, oh, they were at least 50% off, and I bought part of a yard of each one. And then the last one was primarily white with a variety of stylized hearts. I did one other episode of shopping the other day, and I was at Hobby Lobby, and I'm really thinking spring. So I purchased 2 different pieces of fabric with different greens to them, that surely they would be good when I would finish the March wordplay and any other March projects I might want to start going forward. Part of it, there's a lot of pretty fabric out there, and while I'm not a quilter as of yet, I've said a lot of other crafts I wasn't going to do, so who knows, that's probably next. But I enjoy that quite a bit. Another thing at home here, I may have mentioned that we do live on a farm. We're on lamb watch right now. We haven't had sheep for very long. We've only had 3 lambs born on our place over the last couple of years, and we're due to have some in the month of March. This mom that is due to have babies first, we have her penned up in the barn. We have barn cameras in, and we have a dedicated monitor so that we can check on her throughout the day. And I'm hoping this time she has twins. Her babies, she's black, and per her genetics, she should be giving me primarily solid black babies with just a little bit of white markings. And she's very comfortable. She's got a pen of her own. On the other sides are her pen mates, and she's able to get individualized feed, so she doesn't have to kind of hustle and bustle to try to get that. She can eat at her leisure. She has a very unheated water bucket, and I think she's living the lap of luxury right now. We do have a heat lamp in there, and it's not on at the moment, but when we think she's getting pretty close, we'll probably be turning that on to provide a little bit extra warmth. This weather here, we're in Iowa, and we did have a little bit of snow last night. We've had beautiful blue skies today. However, it's really cold. I'm hoping this is the last bad cold snap of the year, in that I think the low tonight is 6 below, and with the wind chill is supposed to be minus 22. We're back to another cold weather advisory for tonight through part of tomorrow, because it's just terrible cold. This winter's dragging on quite long compared to most winters. Typically our highs this time of year in the low 40s with lows of about 25 degrees, which is much better to be having lambs in. And that's specifically why I didn't want to have lambs any sooner, because of that issue with temperature. However, Mother Nature has other ideas for me, and she wants to provide cold weather. So hopefully think positive thoughts that things will go well, and we'll be able to keep everybody warm, and moms will do the right thing as far as taking care of them, and we'll be able to be there just in case there's any trouble. So next time I see you, I may have a story about some lambs being born. We have 4 moms total to have babies the month of March, and what that means is less heavy activities as far as crafts go, because we get overtired. You know, I'm up at least every couple of hours at night checking the monitors, which breaks up your sleep quite a bit. And with working full time during the day, that makes me a tired girl. So I can't really stitch on too many things that are real complicated, because my stitch counts will be off and I'll make mistakes, and that just ends in frustration. So we'll see what I start next and hope for the best. And until I see you again, happy stitching!